Hey, it's me, Big P, and I'm here with the, I guess, final version, or at least current version of the Blade Fall Blade Blast Inquisitor that I League started with. I figured I'd do an update video to show the current position of the build, to show just kind of some of the choices I've made in terms of how we're triggering and casting the spells, because to be honest, the initial video I had, I'm not really happy with because it's kind of cringe that I was using Scold's Brittle when we have Spellslinger now, which is just probably 100 times better than Scold's Brittle ever could be, for a number of reasons. We'll get into it, but I just kind of want to show a map. We're going to do a red map. Not a tier 16 because defensively this build is not amazing. I'm making a lot of concessions to fit as much magic find as possible. Actually, we were using the gifts from above, but let's go even more magic find and bring the quantity up to 41. So yeah, this was kind of a fun league start, I would say. Ultimately, I did re-roll into another build. I'll get into that probably at the end of the video, because it is a little gimmicky, I feel like. One of the only real defensive layers the build has is... Oh, hello. Oh boy. Look at that lag. The performance has been an issue with this build on and off. Like, some patches it's okay, but sometimes it is not. But anyway, one of the build's only real defensive qualities is the fact that it's a ranged build that can proc a bunch of spells from a distance, which, you can get away with. I kind of got, just wanted it to be a higher level, but ended up having to just cap out at 92 because I kind of got into the red maps and just started dying a bit too much. But as you can see, the clear is nice. The impulse helps with coverage, even though the build probably doesn't need it. I just wanted to do a video to show that it can work, both as a league starter and into a late game map farmer. It made me all the money that I needed to roll into another build, and with further tweaks for single target, we'll see on this boss. I actually haven't been playing this build much because I respec'd into a gladiator with face breakers. It's been fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I really have not been having these, maybe it's just the recording? It really feels a little more clunky than I would ideally like it to be. Also, we got no splinters from that. But map's alright. It's got a nice mix of single target and clear. I'll go over my links specifically because they are pretty different from the initial setup I had if you saw the first video with my actual league start gear. Alright, you're just exploding the corpses. I'm not interested in that. We'll put a portal down just in case. Oh yeah, I did. Do I have? No, I don't have All Righteous Fire anymore. That was decent. Definitely nothing to write home about. I probably, in retrospect... Hey, come on now. Oh, I'm gonna die here. Oh, wow, lucky. It's not amazing, as you can see. There's a bit more monster life on this. Hey, get away from me, big guy. Come on, just die, please. There you go. He died for the video. Clear's alright. I do miss shield charge, but there's a lot of setups you can do, like the classic Poet's Pen mobility setup. I might put a lightning warp. I actually was considering maybe doing glacial cascade for the build, to kind of set it up to farm low tier maps. I kind of want to do this video because I am going to take the build apart and maybe respec it a bit, but I had played it like this from like in the mid 80s to where you see it now. I was farming some of the red maps, but it was just a little too inconsistent in terms of single target damage and tankiness for the late game content, and especially disappointing when I failed an Awakener 0 Cyrus kill. That was not fun. That was the final straw for me, and I figured, I'm getting burned out on this build. I'll come back with the fresh fresh ideas for it after playing another build that was just a little tankier, a little more consistent. But you know, it's doable. Definitely softcore style. You know, it's not very tanky. Inquisitor itself is more of an offensive ascendancy, even with like some of like the ES recharge and things like that that you have on Pious Path. It's just not the tankiest build, even though I'm fully in the life pool. It does have a respectable life pool, but in terms of defensive layers, that's pretty much all it's got going for it. It has literally no armor, no block chance. You are immune to ailments, which is nice. Oh, you do have block chance, really? 15%. That's not as good as my gladiator, I'll tell you that much. So let's go into the links, what we have here. And the gearing overall, I think the most notable thing is that every single piece of gear, save for this wand, which could be swapped out with another poet's pen, depending on exactly what you're trying to do with your setup, is unique. Because we have magic find, quantity, Bisco's leash, which is really good for delirium, quantity, and rampage. More quantity, and is that it really? 9, 9, 5, 18? I guess so. I guess it's really not that magic find setup. But yeah, let's go into the rest we have. So Rim Burn, obviously to convert the physical damage into elemental damage from the physical spells that I'm using, just makes a lot of sense. Because the penetration and a lot of the damage on the tree is focused on elemental damage. The Poet's Pen, the setup we have in here is Blade Blast, Added Fire, and Fizz to Lightning. This is probably suboptimal, and we really probably should get it in the 6-link Spellslinger. I was just having problems with mana reservation because with the build now, before I was stacking a bunch of heralds, now the only ore I can use is Zealotry. And I was figuring out, because the Spellslinger reserved mana is affected by your links that you have. So I thought I would be able to use 2 6 links with my actual 6-link here, and the Tempest Binding, which is an effective 6-link. This is more of a utility setup where I have my Power Siphon, Increase Crit, Cast on Crit, and Blade Fall, just to get more blades out there. I haven't really min-maxed the number of blades versus the triggers on the attack and stuff like that, and honestly, that sort of stuff just kind of gives me a headache, so I'm not really going to try to. It looked a bit suboptimal there, and I really should get my single target skill in the 6-link. Bladefall just kind of needs a bit of, because you do want to convert that damage. I guess it really doesn't matter for the Bladefall if it's just providing blades to detonate. So I don't know. I'm going to work on this build a bit more, but I just wanted to show it in the current setup that I had. Flasks I think were the same. Maybe I wasn't using a Taste of Hate before. But yeah, what's nice about Inquisitor is you really only need warding, because all of the elemental ailments you're immune to just straight up, as long as you're on consecrated ground, and you always are, because it's not a moving build. It's not like you're constantly moving every tap. As you can see up here in the corner, you're just on consecrated ground pretty much indefinitely, so you are regenerating a lot of ES, and you have spell damage leads to his life. These are kind of whack cluster jewels. I just got into. You already hinder, I think, with the is that hinder, or what is that with Blade Blast? Unnerve. Okay, so I'm unnerving and I'm hindering. Love words. Magnifier also, like, there's way better stuff you can get. These were kind of just like jewels I found. I didn't even try to really min-max them. And the tree is pretty standard. I don't think much has changed from that, from what I had before. But yeah, I like Tempest Binding because Ice Bite and Innervate. Ice Bite by itself provides us with Frenzy Charge generation, which is cool. Power Siphon itself gives us power charges when it hits. And then Innervate, if the Power Siphon or the Blade Blast, the Blade Fall that's socketed in here gets kills. It just kind of is like a utility setup that's really nice and provides a nice amount of life, ES. And the Harbinger of Storms, I don't know if that's actually working so much. Kind of just a friend to hang out with you in the maps. There he is. He does that sometimes. I don't know. Kind of a cool sort of little bit of utility there. I did have 2 Poet's Pens, but once I got into the red maps, I realized I was doing like no damage. I without the heralds, I'm not scaling much more damage. So I did have to go back to this wand that I was initially using for the self-cast setup. I think I bought this for about an X. You can do a little better, but it's pretty nice for me, I think. What else do we have in terms of setup? So the totem support, just for the single target, again, probably not optimal. I was just trying a bunch of different things, and you saw I would throw down some bladefall totems, which don't do much damage, but they just cast multiple blade falls quickly, so I can detonate them. Although it didn't look like it was detonating them. I'm gonna have to twink. I'm gonna have to mess around with these setups a bit more. We have Second Wind, Flame Dash, and Arcane Surge here, just to proc the Arcane Surge off one cast there and have a lot of casts for it. Feels nice. Zealotry is our aura, crit strike chance and more spell damage. It's just what's good for the build. Another defensive layer that we have. Uh-oh, am I gonna sneeze? God, gamer muting skills. Yeah, steel skin, cast some damage taken, increased duration. One of the few defensive things we have on this build. I'll post a link to the tree, but I just kind of wanted to show that, you know, we got into a different setup. Overall, I would say things like Scold's Brittle. I'm going to look at PoE Ninja, but I feel like Scold's is almost like dead now with the advent of Spellslinger being a thing, because Spellslinger with Bladefall, Conk Effect, Fizz to Lightning, Control Destruction, and I had to use an Enlighten here because, well, I guess I didn't have to, but in lieu of a sixth support link in here, which would increase the mana multiplier by a lot rather than, you know, reduce it, it was tricky. I'm going to have to figure out what to do for Blade Blast. I guess these aren't that bad. It's really the Spell Cascade and Conk Effect. Oh no, I don't even have Spell Cascade in here. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just coming back. I just want to do a little video on this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll have the POB posted below. Because I have swapped over to a Gladiator that I will not be doing a build guide for. I might be doing a build recommendation for. Because it is essentially the exact same build that Isoro just posted a guide on. So, you know, I could probably do a pretty good one, but, you know, if you don't know Isoro, I'll be linking that video in the bottom of this video description, because this killed me in Awakener 7 and just refuses to fall over. Like, I can just hold on Cyclone, and, like, it's fantastic. It doesn't have quantity, though. So, and I didn't league start with it, so it's pretty expensive, but I was able to make the money for this build with the build I just showed you. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll be streaming intermittently, probably some Path. I think I actually am going to end up getting 36 challenges on this one, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, I'll see you in the next vid.